Hello, my name is Kendra.
I'm Olivia.
I'm Lindsay.
And this is our music Oddcast. And today we have a special guest. His name is Dan.
Hi.
Tell us about what bands you're in.
I'm in a few bands around town. Fort Wayne is the town. I'm in a band called Big Money, formerly Big Money and the Spare Change. You can just call it Big Money and the Spare Change. And then I'm in a band called The Meat Flowers. And I'm in a band called Best Sleep. And that's that.
Good times.
Yeah.
And today we're going to be talking about the conspiracy theory that Courtney Love had Kurt Cobain murdered. So take it away, Olivia.
Okay, and we're not going to do our usual bio because, we think by now everyone knows who Kurt Cobain is. If not, you can look him up. So, Courtney.
Oh, that's a great Hollywood couple name.
It is.
Like the Benifer. It's the Courtney.
Yes.
Also sounds like some kind of fucked up fish dish. Doesn't it?
I think you're thinking of chutney. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know why
curry.
But
Yeah.
fish just popped into my mind. I don't know. Sorry.
No, it's fine. So, Kurt Cobain met Courtney Love in January of 1990. They had briefly talked at a show in Portland back in 1989, just a brief introduction. And she was still married to musician James Moreland. She had relationships with other musicians before that, Julian Cope in Liverpool, Roz Rezabek, and Billy Corgan.
Well,
Yeah.
that's Billy Corgan.
Oh, actually, that's kind of funny because
Billy Corgan.
I was just rewatching some stuff from the year that punk broke, that thing, and Thurston Moore's running around going, "Courtney's in love with Billy Corgan."
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, that's before they were actually dating and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, his commentary all through that movie is so funny.
Thurston
That's
Moore's.
cool.
Yeah, when he's asking the guy about being a skinhead or something, or he's talking about some guy that just shaved his head and he's interviewing him, and he's like, how does it feel now as opposed to when you were a hair?
That's the
Like
footage
you could
of
be a skinhead or a hair.
Yeah, those are the two options.
Dave Grohl's just running around touching every
All the
piece of food.
That's my favorite scene. That's so funny.
There's one
kiwi. It is precious. I will share it.
I will share the beer. Oh, I love your wine. I love your juice. So
Dave
good.
Grohl's funny. He doesn't get credit for that.
No, he doesn't.
I need to watch that.
You do. You'd love it.
We forgot to mention our drink.
Oh yeah, shit.
Oh, usually don't do that till you can do it whenever. Yeah.
No, it's okay.
fine.
We are drinking Dan's favorite cocktail, Painkiller, but
Painkillers.
it's I feel bad because I didn't have the rum that you're only supposed to use that kind of rum because I could not find it.
What kind is it?
I didn't even know about that rule, so.
Yeah, but
all good.
Pussers or something.
Pussers?
I'm not even kidding. It's a
Hell yeah.
Pussers. So your Poosers, either way, it just sounds fucking hilarious. So, but we are not drinking that. We're drinking Old Gays or something. I'm not even joking about that either. I was another Caribbean rum. That's fine.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Fits with
It's
the
not
story
Old Gays,
too,
but
the
it's
more we get into
Gays
it.
something. I don't know. Sorry, I'll shut the fuck up.
So there's a lot of debate over who turned who onto heroin. Some say that Courtney got Kurt hooked on heroin just to control him. But he stated himself that he'd been using it before due to stomach problems. But he did stick up a lot for her in the press. I don't know if you guys noticed that. After she was pregnant with Francis, their child, journalist Lynn Hirschberg for Vanity Fair had pointed out that Courtney had been using heroin early in her pregnancy. She and Kurt took a lot of drugs before his SNL performance, and she admitted to taking them for a few months after that during the interview. And then, when they did the math, they figured out that, she was a couple months pregnant at the time.
Wasn't she they dated for 4 months before they got married?
They weren't together very long. Yeah.
Or something like that. I don't know. I read something today.
It was
I might
less
be
than a
wrong.
year,
Yeah,
I
it wasn't
think.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were both high at their wedding.
They were high all the time.
Yeah.
That
So-
part is true.
Through leaked hospital records, it was released that she was taking methadone up until, when Francis was born.
Before HIPAA.
Yeah. So they were very angry about that article. And then a writer, Victoria Clark, who was writing a book about Nirvana, planned to meet with Lynn Hirschberg about the article and Kurt and Courtney both got really pissed off. She left her a bunch of threatening messages, and Kurt did as well, actually threatening to kill her.
Courtney was like, they have that footage, like where you can hear that phone call.
Yeah, on the Kurt and Courtney documentary. Yeah,
That was definitely her thing, and then he
went along with it. Yeah,
he joined in for that one.
Yeah.
yeah, because they played both of the
yeah.
answering machine messages, and I was like, well, Kurt, calm down there.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you can like hear her in the background on his
Yeah.
stuff.
It's like she's probably like, do this.
She really
Yeah.
wrote it out for him.
Right.
So Courtney, wasn't popular with Kurt's friends and bandmates. She interfered with the 1993 studio sessions for Nevermind. Producer
In
Steve
utero, sorry.
Oh, yeah, no.
That's why you're here, Dan.
Yeah.
I know. So, producer Steve Albini even threatened to quit more than once. In mid-1993, Kurt insisted, at Courtney's request, to renegotiate how the band's royalties should be divided up.
I'm sorry, I'm still thinking about like Steve Albini. I have like one of his business cards because I went and toured the studio. And it's like metal. It's like the perfect like cocaine card. Like, I'm like, is that what this is for? Like, it's like a steel cut business card.
There's
That's strange.
Did you see the quote,
Sounds
the
expensive.
Steve Albini quote about that he gave to somebody about her being like a psycho host beast?
Yeah.
It's such a great line.
Hilarious.
It's like, I'm not worried about embarrassing Kurt by saying this because he already knows. But she's crazy. Yeah, Courtney's not popular with anyone.
Yeah,
really,
that's true.
I don't hate her
That's
music
important.
though. I definitely like
No,
it.
Hole is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hole is awesome.
And when you listen to her in interviews, sometimes she comes across likable. Not always, but sometimes you're like, I can kind of.
It is
she's
crazy
at least
'cause
honest.
Definitely definitely like master manipulator.
Yes.
You know, even though I don't necessarily.
Well, like
think-
that, you guys were just watching Montage of Heck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that movie's amazing until
Yeah.
she comes on and you're like, I don't believe a word that you're
I
saying.
know that, and then once you know that she approved everything and had involvement,
Yeah.
you know it's like very skewed.
Yeah, as soon as I like when I was sitting
Still
there
good.
watching it, within a couple
I
minutes,
love
like
that
there
movie.
were like some really glam, like tasteful nudes of her, and I'm like, yeah, she's
Yeah.
definitely in charge of this.
Right.
Like,
Well, it's cool because they just don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
You know? That's a great movie.
So up to that point, royalties were divided equally between the three of them, which infuriated Courtney. He wanted 100% of the royalties for lyrics and 75% of the royalties for the music. And he also let the band know that this was, a retroactive decision. So all the sales for Nevermind, which might be in utero, that you pointed out,
Yeah.
would,
Like
you
all
know-
future royalties. He wanted
Yeah.
Yeah.
to
So-
divide it that way.
Well,
And that's
no, it
what they
wasn't
were
all future.
actually
It was
mad about.
retroactive. So it was,
Yeah.
when the album
No,
was
they wouldn't have to like
released.
pay him back though. It was like from
Yeah.
then on. And they were cool with, I think, because Dave and Chris were cool with him with like for the new album. They were like, fine, whatever, but not
They were-
for the old stuff because we already
yeah.
had this,
Yeah.
planned out.
I feel like that's like something that's mentioned on like all of these
I know.
podcasts. Like, I'm so bummed out when
Like, it
bands do
ruins
that
so
shit.
many bands.
Like,
Yeah.
equal. Like, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he wrote all the songs, but at the same
Well,
time,
that's-
it's like, I don't know. When you're in bands with people, it's like having like a second family.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to like fuck over your family. I don't know.
Definitely a Courtney move.
Bosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he was like, I think everybody kind of knows
Didn't
that
seem like
he
he
was
really
always
cared
like,
about the money.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And that's like a lot of what they would fight about, like when she like bought like a Lexus or something, and
Yeah.
then he like made her take it
Yeah.
back, and like, yeah.
They ended up moving into a 7,800 square foot mansion near Lake Washington, next to the Starbucks chairman Howard Schultz, and across the lake from Bill Gates. That's funny because I wrote down Lexus incident, but we just talked about
Oops.
that. Yeah.
YOLO.
So this lifestyle wasn't for Kurt. Okay, so they were already fighting about that, and then it was said that they fought about his drug use, but then a lot of his friends say that that wasn't really true, that she didn't really care because she was actually doing drugs herself as well, because she kind of pretended for a long time that she was clean, especially after the baby was born, because they didn't even have custody of her at first
Yeah.
because of the drug use.
There's just no way to know about any of that stuff because she would like leak stuff to the press, like
Yeah,
just
she
to
did it
leak
all the
stuff to
time.
the press and say like, I was telling him, I told him he can't do that if he wants to be with his daughter and stuff. And really she's like
doing it herself.
Probably a bigger junkie than he was. at
Yeah,
that
or like
point.
bringing the drugs home herself. Well, they interviewed some of the drug dealers, and they were like providing it to both Kurt and Courtney, and then they would just
Yeah, that
tell,
was that.
like,
Yeah,
don't
like,
tell
don't.
the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, like immediately following, like Kurt's phone call
Yes.
and Courtney would call.
Yeah,
and, like,
there's a-
hey.
It's like on call waiting.
Yep.
So in June of '93, Courtney called the police on Kurt after he allegedly shoved her during an argument. She had thrown juice in his face before he pushed her, and he was arrested, but the charges were later dropped. He was,
Sorry.
yeah, he was really unhappy with her choice of nannies, specifically her ex-boyfriend, Michael DeWitt, called Callie. He liked him as a friend, but didn't like that he would watch their daughter while he was high on heroin.
Fair.
Yeah.
Right.
Courtney herself even admitted that she would take heroin while Frances was around, but then she would have one of the nannies take care of Frances. She'd been taken away from the couple after her birth in 1992 for a short time. One of Kurt's brief stays in rehab was actually done in order to get custody of Frances back. And then on March 18th of 94, she also called the police out to the house, claiming that he took a gun and locked himself in the bathroom. But once the police actually got there, he was hiding from her and he had no gun in the bathroom.
That's sad.
I know. But, once we get into things a little bit more, it kind of makes more sense why she did that. Well, on a 38-date European tour starting in February of 94, Kurt got sick, finally being diagnosed with bronchitis. He had already wanted to cancel the tour. He was exhausted and things were going terribly with Courtney. The Italian doctor that diagnosed him with bronchitis said that he should take 2 months off. So, he canceled the tour. He flew to Rome on March 3rd to meet up with Courtney and Frances. She was in London promoting the whole album that was coming out. And there was a lot of stuff about her possibly having an affair with Evan Dando around this time. But then they also said that it was just a publicity stunt. So, maybe she did, maybe she didn't.
I think her dad said something about that too.
Yeah.
Courtney doc.
I guess he found them in bed. He was talking to her during a visit because he wanted to meet the baby, but he didn't get to meet the baby.
Yeah.
And he was talking to her. And I guess one of the conversations they had, like he was still laying in bed after they, had been together.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
Trifling.
yeah. He had called his lawyer, Rosemary Carroll, to inform her of his intentions to divorce Courtney after a recent screaming match. And he planned to give her a letter explaining his intentions during this meetup in Rome. Early on March 4th, it said around 6 to 6:30, an ambulance was called to the Excelsior Hotel after Kurt OD'd on Rohypnol and alcohol. Courtney woke.
No, like
The date rape drug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which was
I'm
prescribed
sorry.
to
I'm just
her.
like, I'm thinking of all these like movies and like, yeah.
I know.
Like, let's roofie ourselves. Like,
Also kind of interesting.
Well, that's not what they initially made it for.
well, obviously. Like, have you guys ever been
It's a
roofied
sedative.
before? I guess that's a
No.
terrible question.
Never have you?
Yeah, but like it was funny because I was with a bunch of girlfriends and it was totally fine. Like it was an accident.
Did
like
you just pass out or
It was
no,
an
like somebody
accident?
like we were all sharing drinks and somebody got roofied and then so like we in
Oh, so
turn,
you guys
like,
all just got like
roofied.
a little high.
Yeah, and then we're all like, well, let's just go to the Motley Crue Bridge and like hang out. And
Like,
fucking
thanks for the
party.
good time, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. And then we all like passed out. It was fine. I mean, it wasn't.
Passed
like,
out,
it
woke up, and had no memory.
basically, but like, there was photos though, but like there was like no dudes around, and then like everybody like made it home safe, and just like didn't want to drink for like a month because the hangover was so
was
bad.
really bad.
Terrible.
So Courtney had woke around or between 3 and 4 and found him unconscious on the floor with blood coming out of his nose. As I said before, she didn't call for an ambulance until 6:30, so she let him sit for a couple hours, which is really strange to me. I don't know if you guys think so.
Yeah, that's
I mean, I
a
could
little
see if
strange.
she, waited a half hour, tried to like revive him herself first, or like hide things.
Well, she was like super fucked up, like, and maybe it took her a while to even notice.
figure
That's
out
true.
what's going on.
And she said she was recorded speaking with the detective, which I will get into a little bit later. And that's when she said, I woke between this time and found him on the floor. So she, didn't offer that information to the, anybody that showed up at the scene.
Yeah, that's another one that people say that. Some people think that she was trying to kill him then.
Yeah.
So
I was
that
gonna say,
would
that
also
sounds-
make
So she waited
sense
until he
for
was,
that.
like,
She waited until it was
definitely
obvious. Well, she waited until it was obvious that he wasn't dead, and then was like, "Oh, I guess I should call them."
Yeah,
call an
they
ambulance or something.
They said when
But I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I know. You just don't know.
No.
She was photographed fully dressed with makeup on when the ambulance was there. So they don't know if they, some people thought maybe she got ready after.
Oh, she probably
Get ready
called,
for the
She
press.
probably
Yeah.
called the press too.
Well, the funny thing is, a call was made to Geffen Records right after he was taken by ambulance to the hospital, and she called. Well, they said that it was Courtney Love and that he had died, that he OD'd and was dead. So he wasn't dead, but she didn't know that yet, and then she claimed that she didn't make the phone call, which maybe she didn't.
Oh,
but-
because I remember reading that too, that people put that press release out.
Yeah,
Or like CNN
and,
or something did.
that was their
Yeah.
favorite thing to do, to release
that
those
would
stories.
make sense if Courtney called and said that.
Yeah.
Also, when it says like she was in like full makeup and stuff, like I mean, if you think about, I was gonna say, if you think about Courtney Love makeup, it's kind of like you look like you like powder your
That's
face
kind of
with a
dope.
powdered donut, like smear some lipstick. Like I feel like it kind of always looked a
Or
little
ripped up,
Yeah.
slept
dress
in
from the
anyway.
Goodwill.
So I don't know if that necessarily.
And her hair was like kind of crazy usually, so yeah, I
Yeah.
thought.
Did anybody else
She
go
wasn't
through
in
a
her-
phase where you tried to kind of look like her? Or was that just
absolutely.
me? Okay.
Absolutely,
I didn't.
for sure.
Except I did wear like the
you ever
dresses
go through a Kurt
with
Cobain phase?
like
No.
Doc Martens. So
I'm
kind
more
of
of a
clothes, I
Courtney
guess,
Love
like the
style.
clothes.
That's my problem.
I'll show you guys pictures sometime. It was like 2001 though, so it wasn't quite
Oh,
like
we both were in
long
the
enough.
phase like around the same time.
Yeah, because it wasn't quite long enough that it had like come back around and people kind of thought it was cool again. They were just sort of like,
Like,
do
why are
you
these
have, like,
girls
this-
at this punk show wearing baby doll dresses and it's like not 1994 anymore?
yeah, like
It's definitely like 2000.
did you buy those packs of like the baby barrettes that say like Jesus loves me and stuff? Yeah.
I didn't have the Jesus Loves Me ones, thank God, but
No,
like,
it was
I-
supposed to be. It was supposed to be
Yeah.
ironic.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're in Fort Wayne. It's pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty
Oh
religious.
well, maybe
So,
people just thought I was a childlike Jesus freak or something. I don't know.
tight.
Just covers all your bases with everybody. Though.
Yeah,
There you
And
go.
you're good. You can say it's ironic if you need to say it's ironic.
it's true.
So oddly, when he woke up, he wrote "fuck you" on a piece of paper and handed it to Courtney because he still had the tubes down his throat.
That's legit.
Naturally.
And then when they took him out, he asked for a strawberry milkshake.
That's also legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Dude, Kurt was legit.
too legit to quit.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't go that far.
Like,
You definitely quit.
So after returning from Rome, Kurt decided not to participate in Lollapalooza. They wanted him to headline and offered him $9 million. I guess it wasn't exactly that amount, but it was,
It was a lot.
yes, a large amount. And then there was something else in the deal where he was getting money from like ticket sales or something. I probably
But they were like the
but-
highest paid act on Lollapalooza. Or they were
Yes.
going to be.
Yeah.
So Courtney was really pissed about that because she wanted her band Hole to also play, and that was part of the deal that they would get to play if Nirvana played.
that's so shitty.
I know.
It's like,
Did you guys watch that Soaked in Bleach movie?
yeah.
I didn't rewatch it, but I've
really
seen it
good.
before. I
I
mostly
watched
just
it again
remember
because there's a
the
scene. I don't know how. I mean, I feel like most of the. It's so hard with that guy, that Tom Grant guy, because he seems kind of crazy now,
Yeah.
but not crazy in like he was making it up the whole time. Like he's gone kind of crazy after doing it for 30 years.
Yeah,
or
maybe.
20 years. But there's that scene where she's talking about that like on the phone, and from that it seems like she didn't do Lollapalooza because Nirvana was going to do it, or she was like talking to him on the phone and like
Didn't want to ride the
just trying to
coattails.
just trying to guilt trip him into being like, I wish I could do that or something like that. Or like,
Yeah.
we'll play it, we'll take your spot if you're not going to do it. But really, she just wanted her husband to make $10 million in
Yeah.
2 months, which is fair.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's the man.
So
Anyways,
yeah. So his label Geffen was still scared after his accidental overdose in Rome. And his manager, Danny Goldberg, who is the husband of his lawyer, Rosemary Carroll. I might have just said this, but did I say that she was married to Jim Carroll?
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wait, who was?
The
Rosemary
lawyer.
Carroll, his lawyer, who is married now. Well, then at the to his
My brain is like exploding.
manager. Yeah,
like,
she's married to Jim
it's
Carroll.
weird, right?
Ugh,
So-
Basketball Diaries.
oh yeah,
yeah.
Jim Carroll band.
Yeah.
All the people who died.
Yeah,
Were all my friends, and they died. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
weird. I'd never.
Yeah. So they planned an intervention. I don't know if I said her husband's name again, Danny Goldberg, and the label. So kind of a strange group of people that were attending this intervention. It was Courtney, the Cali guy who was
The nanny
there.
guy.
Yeah, the Manny. And Pat Smear.
Yeah, Pat Smear is probably the only, like, I don't actually know what he got into, but it was literally like people from Geffen and Courtney and a bunch of junkies.
Yeah, and then the two nannies.
Yeah.
The woman nanny whose name they don't say, and like anything that I looked at, but they were both like drug users. So he brought up during the meeting that he thought it was, you know, pretty hypocritical of them because there were 3 junkies in the room, trying to get him to go to rehab.
Like, do you think that they were like just trying to like do? I mean, if they're all junkies, like, but he was like the cash cow,
Yeah.
so it's just like, is that
Oh,
why?
yeah, it was totally that.
Yeah.
That I think that those people were just always there. So like
Well,
the
yeah,
nannies.
it's kind of what happens with that type of
Yeah.
situation.
So they just showed up. But funny that I don't know why his bandmates were there. Maybe she didn't invite them because, you know, she wasn't
I don't
really
think
getting along
those
with them.
guys wanted any part of this stuff by this point.
Probably. There was a story that I don't know if it's true, but it said that Chris Novoselic, he hotwired Kurt's car and tried to drive him to rehab, like force him to go.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find anything, you know, that verified that story.
Well, yeah, they were probably terrified.
Yeah.
Because she would, if they did something to piss her off, she would, like, go out of her way to ruin their careers, I feel
Right.
like. So they were probably just trying to keep all this stuff separate and do it as long as they could because it was obviously falling apart.
Yeah. So she was really worried that he was going to get dropped by the label because he was refusing to go. So then she threatened to limit his time with Francis until he went to rehab. So on March 30th, he started his 28-day treatment program at Exodus in LA. The 2 days that he was actually in the facility, he was evaluated. He attended an individual therapy session and was visited twice by Francis with nanny Jackie Ferry, which I don't know if she's the one that was, you know, at the intervention. But while smoking a cigarette outside, Kurt was told a story about a man jumping the wall to escape the voluntary facility by Gibby Haynes from Butthole Surfers. Which is funny. Did you guys ever watch Trainspotting? Because
Yeah,
he
not
does.
a long
Renton
time.
does the same thing. He like, jumps the wall to leave rehab. I never knew if that was why, but
It's just
yeah,
It's like a.
I don't remember when the book was written.
That's
I
a
have
good
it,
question.
but
Yeah, I do
Well, I thought
too.
that was funny because that was in all the stories and stuff, but then the joke when they were talking was that they were allowed to
it was
leave.
voluntary. Yeah, so they could leave at any time.
just make a big dramatic exit. Jump the fuck over this wall.
So at 7:25 that evening, Kurt went out for another cigarette and jumped the wall.
I'm just thinking, oh man, there's so many movies that are popping in my head. I'm ADD so bad, but like all of the like Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz and
You just think of any time somebody's jumped over a fence.
no, like but they have to, like it's like in every single one of those movies, like all the end of the world series that they do.
Yeah.
There's always like a scene where everybody's like jumping over something, and then like the last guy
and
always
the fat
like,
guy falls.
like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
It's hilarious.
Missed it like every time, and it's like, and that's immediately what I'm thinking of, like jumping over the fence and like.
Just think how different the story would be if he would have like
he had to-
fallen.
Yeah,
tried to
he
jump the
probably had a
fence
very
and then,
swift
like had to stay in rehab.
jump because he only weighed like 120 pounds.
I don't know,
It was probably also
tall
just
the
like a
fence
little
is.
picket
Yeah,
fence.
true.
as well.
It could have been.
He probably just walked.
really tiny.
Like I don't want to. I don't want to.
there's,
Like,
like, a gap right by there that he could have just
the chain
walked
link
through.
gate. He could sneak it.
I don't want to think about like how awkward it would be, like if anybody were to watch me actually like attempt to go over a privacy fence, and like
Yeah.
how like just like sad. It would just be very sad to watch that.
I feel like I'd get to the top and then just like tumble over.
Yeah, because
They would-
I would be hurt so bad. I don't know how, but it would definitely happen.
Probably just opened the gate of like a white picket fence. It was like,
Yeah.
all right,
Just casually
see
sauntering
ya.
out. Yeah.
He jumped the
But it
fence.
says he jumped the fence.
How did he get
that's-
out of there?
Yeah.
That's what's so funny about like trying to put this stuff together. It's like these were all a bunch of fake news, like
I know.
inaccurate stories, like 25 years ago.
Yeah. And yeah, pre like social media
And the
Yeah.
tabloids,
everything,
though, like
and,
those tabloid magazines are like so ridiculous.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there was a story when Francis was born where they took like a deformed child and said that
Yeah,
she was
dude.
born addicted to drugs, and that's
So the National Enquirer, because I feel like they're the worst about that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
I really just miss the Weekly World News. Where it's like
What?
weapons of mass destruction found. It's raptors with laser beams. And
yeah.
yeah.
That's a good one. I always liked
got
that
Tiger
one.
Woods.
I always looked at that one tabloid. I think it's called Closer. I think they put it in nursing homes.
Oh, no, it's
always
definitely like we have that at my salon.
Do you?
And like OK and Us magazine. And,
oh, yeah. No, Closer's great, though, because it's always like...
so bizarre. It's just
I always
too much.
read
For the
trash
geriatric
magazines when I'm
crowd.
at your salon.
It's like, learn scandalous secrets of Lucille Ball's last days.
Yes.
Okay, so Courtney contacts PI Tom Grant on April 3rd, 1994, which was Easter Sunday, to hire him to find Kurt. Grant and a colleague, Matt Love, at a 5-star Beverly Hills hotel, which is also a private rehab facility, but it was really relaxed. Like, she, at some points, had her dealer there. She might not have actually bought drugs, but they were hanging out at least.
She definitely
She
did
probably about drugs, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a rehab, but it's like chill. You can do drugs in there.
Yeah. So she explains to Grant that her husband escaped rehab and she believed that he was suicidal and had recently purchased a gun with the help of his friend Dylan Carlson. She had canceled his credit card and bank card, and she had known by calling the company that he had booked a plane from LA to Seattle a half hour after leaving rehab. While still at the facility the same day earlier, a couple hours before, he had purchased 2 tickets, and she couldn't find out from the airline where and if there were any names attached. But that was also strange. So there were 3 tickets purchased. 1 was actually used. So she mentioned that he may have flown to Atlanta to meet up with Michael Stipe, which, funny, we talked about in
The
an
REMS,
earlier
yeah.
podcast, that he was trying to, save Kurt because he thought that he, was kind of headed down a bad path.
Also, somebody told me that there's a conspiracy that Michael Stipe killed him. And I'm like, yeah, I don't believe that for a second.
No.
Too
Not even a
gentle.
little bit. Yeah, he seems like a really sweet guy.
Well, and then like the quote that we had talked about like on the REM episode was like that Kurt Cobain always talked about how Michael Stipe handled fame like a saint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they loved each other.
Yeah, he's probably trying to save him because Courtney's...
Crazy.
Yeah, but he's
Yeah.
still
He's also,
really
like-
good friends with Courtney. Like
But he's like the
Francis'
godfather.
Yeah, but they still hang out. They're still on each other's Instagrams. Popping up. We're going into the modern times
He's the...
here.
how many godfathers does she have?
Well, it started out with,
Oh, I don't know. Those are
She
the-
had-
Danny Goldberg and...
yeah, and
Rosemary.
Rosemary Carroll.
Oh, okay.
But then she, after probably finding out what Rosemary, her part that she plays later on in the story, she asked Drew Barrymore to be the godmother, and then
Oh, so
Michael
they've probably
Stipe.
just 2 sets of godparents.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least
Barrymore
that I
and Michael
came
Stipe,
across.
those are
I know.
I know, it's
pretty
pretty
dope.
cool.
godparents.
Really great.
So also, we talked about in the Michael Stipe episode that he sent Kurt an airline ticket to fly out there. So
That kind of contradicts like the 3
right.
being
So then the
bought
3
and-
tickets. So
Yeah.
that I'm just something I thought of. But she asked
Like
Tom
the same week he sent tickets?
I don't know the date when he sent the airline ticket. And I think it was a little bit more relaxed than where you could like buy a ticket to be used at a later time.
An open-ended ticket.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those pre 9/11 days.
No.
The life.
So she asked Tom Grant, which is funny because do you guys know Tom Grant locally? He's a guitar teacher and he's in bands. He was my first guitar teacher.
What?
Nice.
But yeah, fun fact. But she asked him to hack the airline to find out, more information about those 2 tickets.
Hack the airline.
Yeah, that sounds.
Hack the planet.
Yeah, that's not going to get you very far.
Just we're thinking of the 90s. I'm
Not a
thinking of
hacker.
hackers.
I'm a private detective.
He was kind of a square too, where
Yeah.
didn't seem like the type of guy that would have that sort of knowledge.
Sounds like they need to get zero cool.
Yeah, so she then says that she's going to hire someone else to do that.
Fine, I'll get,
Did that
get
ever
a different
happen?
hacker.
Right.
This PI doesn't even hack.
So
I'm just thinking of the movie Hackers. Like I
know.
Stop. I want Matthew Lillard to make a cameo in that, like in his like fucking crazy
braids.
braids, and he's like, hack the planet.
These 1994 computers.
Yeah, and like the laptops that were like the biggest, like
Yeah,
chunkiest, like smallest screens.
and remember their names were actually cool at the time. Their hacker names, it was like Acid Burn and something. I
Yeah,
can't remember the other
that's
one,
so
but I remember
cool.
thinking that was cool. at the
Yeah,
time.
zero cool. Like that was like my Twitter handle forever.
Yeah. So Courtney mentioned to Tom Grant that Kurt wanted to divorce her and mentioned the note that he had given her in Rome saying that he was going to leave Courtney. And she also mentioned that she believed that he was having an affair with Seattle drug dealer Caitlin Moore. She mentioned his relationship with his parents was pretty terrible and that he would never, go to either of their houses after escaping. She mentioned some hotels that he liked to hang out at. And she gave Grant his common aliases, which were Simon Ritchie, what's his name? Sid Vicious, and Bill Bailey. She also told Grant that she had an album coming out soon and that she had planted a story in the news saying that she had OD'd to possibly draw Kurt out of hiding.
That's the kind of stuff that is so funny.
Yeah.
But what did you say just before that?
Talked about his aliases. And
I had something to say.
Well, I mentioned that one.
Oh no, this is like the day that he's like, he asked her about their house in Washington. He's like, do you want me to go there? And for these like 2 days, she's like, no, he's not going to be up there.
Oh yeah.
No way. And then after, it's like on the 5th or the 6th, she's like, you should go up to the house, to the Washington house, and like look for him. And he's like, why didn't she want me to do that
It gets weirder.
before?
I'll explain
Because this is like
bit.
the day that he died, and she's like, no, don't go up there.
So when you said that she said that he was having an affair, forgive me if you like have something in here, but did you guys ever come across anything about the first bass player in Hole before
Yeah.
Melissa Oftemar, Kristen? I can't remember her last name, but she thought that he was having an affair with her, and she actually died not that long after he did. So
And
then
she
there was
left the
kind of
band.
like
She was
a
kind of
double
afraid.
murder conspiracy.
Double,
Yeah.
and there's like 10 other people.
I know, seriously. Her mother didn't believe that she had OD'd. And then right before, because she was trying to move out of Seattle at the time because she was leaving the band.
Yeah, and she was super into drugs there and everything. It was just kind of, she was like in
Yeah.
the process of kind of trying to start over.
I think her last name's Pfaff.
Faff.
don't
I think
know
the
if
P is silent.
Yeah,
P-F-A-F-F.
But right before she, the last person to visit her while she was in the tub was Eric Erlandson from Hole, which is kind of weird. But yeah, she had asked a relative to go with her to move her stuff, and then like that date didn't work out for some reason.
Yeah.
And he couldn't go the other date then. But she did have someone else with her, but he was waiting out in a truck while she was inside taking her bath, and he slept out there, and then in the morning she was dead.
Yeah, and she died after Kurt, right?
Yeah.
But not too much longer. It was
Right. It was
within-
pretty close.
Yeah, it was in like a month or two, I want to say.
Yeah, but they had a friendship, and I guess Courtney freaked out because he gave her a book and thought that they maybe had something going on. But it seemed like she was extremely jealous of really any woman that he was friends
I
with.
hate girls like that.
I know.
I hate dudes like that too. Like I just hate people like that, I guess.
Yeah.
I love people like that.
That's my type.
They're my favorite.
Just really
Yeah.
looking for that in a relationship. You need to find someone that's like fucking obsessed with me and doesn't want me to have any friends.
Like, cut me off from everyone.
Please.
So when Kurt left rehab, he flew back to LA and had his driver drop him off at his home at 1:30 a.m. early April 2nd. So he spoke with Callie that same morning. He went in while he was sleeping in like one of their bedrooms, which was actually Callie's bedroom, and his girlfriend was in there too. Love told Spin Magazine. Okay, so Callie tells Kurt to call Courtney, and he says he's going to do it. So Love told Spin Magazine that she never got the call because the hotel that she was staying at, which was the rehab hotel, made a mistake and didn't give her the call. He was picked up by a cab at 7 a.m. and then Callie said that he never saw him again. So Courtney spoke with Callie on 8 separate occasions that day. And she never mentioned to Tom Grant that she knew that Kurt had been there. She acted like she had no idea where he went after rehab. So, we don't know for sure that he definitely mentioned to her, but I don't know why he wouldn't have. Monday, April 4th, she mentions to Grant that she's still angry with Kurt for turning down Lollapalooza and mentioned that he messed up, Hole's chances of playing as well. She mentions the dealer, Caitlin Moore, again and asks Grant to bug her house. which he says no to.
Can you imagine like all the crazy conversations they would hear?
I want to hear those tapes so bad.
Like-
because he has, hours and hours of tapes where he
my
recorded
God.
these conversations with her and different people.
I'm
But-
also just thinking of like if you were to bug a dealer's house, like
Right.
can you imagine what you would hear?
It
Like,
might
it'd
be really quiet
hilarious.
because
Yeah, like even
seems like there'd be a
regardless
lot
of
of
this whole
talking.
situation.
I know, like I'm just saying, like in general, it's like
yeah.
no man, like I don't know. I'm just thinking Pineapple
The same
Express
phone
now.
call a
Yeah.
million times.
Yeah.
So she then asked a friend to bug the dealer's home since Grant said he wouldn't do it.
Persistent.
Yeah, she says that she's not going to let Kurt pull her down and ruin her chances at fame. And then she tells him that she filed a police report pretending to be Kurt's mother, saying that he was missing, armed, and suicidal.
That's the most important piece of evidence in the whole thing.
It really is. Weird fact, but the cop taking the report was actually a friend of Courtney's, too.
Shocking.
Which don't know the extent of the friendship, but it is mentioned that she does mention herself later on in the tapes that he was a good friend of hers, Detective Terry. So then, he probably knew that it was actually her on the phone and not
Right.
her mother-in-law. And I mean, who knows, maybe he even advised her to say that.
I feel like she might
Yeah,
not be
let's take it
very
more
good at
seriously.
disguising her voice.
I
She has
know.
that very distinctive like
raspy.
rap. Yeah.
Well, it's like it kind of goes back to like her voice. Like I thought she would have made a perfect Nancy instead of Nancy. I remember her like being pissed off that she didn't get cast in that
Yeah.
role, and she was just a friend.
That's why
wonder
she
why
is
she
the way
didn't.
that she is.
I know,
She
but
would've
she's
been
also
perfect.
obsessed with Sid and Nancy, and that's
Right.
why she would call like Kurt like that
Yeah.
was like his alias was Sid Vicious's real name.
So on Tuesday, April 5th, Grant calls around to a bunch of Seattle motels looking for Kurt under aliases and finds a Bill Bailey. So he tells Courtney and offers to follow up, but she says she wants to do it instead. Grant had subcontracted another PI named Ernie Barth to surveil Caitlin Moore's house. They wanted to go to the Seattle house, but Courtney said no. She said Callie was watching the house. And funny thing, but at the time, Courtney knew that Callie was no longer there. He had been staying with one of his girlfriends, which I thought was funny that they talk about. Like this guy had like lots of girlfriends. Jennifer
yeah.
Adamson.
Big pimpin'.
And when she was interviewed later, the girlfriend, she said that he was scared to stay at the house, but didn't say why he was scared. Courtney had made several calls to him at this girlfriend's house too, proving that she knew that he was there.
What date is this supposed to be?
This is Tuesday, April 5th.
Okay. He's
So
scared to stay there because he knew that he was already dead, probably.
yeah, exactly. Wednesday, April 6th, Grant once again asked for permission to go to the Seattle house. And she actually gives him permission this time. She says that she would go, but she's working and she's way too busy to go herself. So at 11:30 p.m., he meets up with Kurt's friend Dylan Carlson to talk about, they talk about Kurt's state of mind. And then, he asks him some questions about the gun that they bought together on March 30th, which was also the day that he headed to rehab. Dylan claims that Kurt was under a lot of pressure and not suicidal, and that he bought the gun because they had had a recent break-in, and said that he was also pretty shaken up by the story of John Lennon being, killed, and then also Mia Zapata a year earlier.
What
Yeah.
is it?
Oh man. And that's the girl from the Gits, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah, so we were talking about that in another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I feel like we talk about so many of the same people.
So
in these stories.
I think I had read that he already had a lot of guns. Is that
He did. They were
what-
taken
yeah.
away from him when she put that call in saying that he was in the bathroom with the gun. So they took guns
Okay.
away from him. And
Did
Oh,
you say
okay.
that already? I didn't.
That makes sense. No, she didn't say anything about
Okay.
them confiscating
Yeah, 'cause
guns,
I
but
think-
I
'cause
just
I
read
think I read
something
that.
about the cops being called and confiscating his guns earlier,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize that was why.
I just always thought it was kind of weird because he doesn't really seem like a
That makes
like a
the
gun guy,
that
gun
makes
collector.
But that makes the going to buying a gun like so much.
more normal.
Yeah,
Right.
It makes
Yeah.
it not weird at
Right.
all.
He had even given an interview to Rolling Stone magazine talking about how he would shoot at targets and where he would shoot, saying that he would shoot over this cliff because he didn't want to accidentally shoot a person. But it was
Yeah.
funny because Courtney claimed that he, never had any experience with guns, and it was really weird that he was buying this gun. Okay.
Is that thing open?
Now it's not doing it. Like I was spilling this shit everywhere.
Yeah, when you're shaking it and making it
Like,
spills,
I'm sorry, I have a picture of this stuff, but it's got like these.
it's
like,
not coming out.
It's almost like the. It's
like childproof.
It turned into like cottage cheese or something. It's gnarly. So I just wanted to try to sift it so I didn't get any of that gnarliness. But
You don't like cottage cheese?
I
Not
do,
drinking
but
it.
not like in my drink because that's gross.
Cottage cheese is the most vile food on
Okay.
earth.
Don't be a hater.
That's
I
a whole
love it.
nother podcast.
Seriously.
I do not concur.
I love cottage cheese.
Please fill up our
Cottage-
DMs with your opinion on cottage cheese.
Yeah, you know what? This is like, instead of me having rage about something for once, now it's me being like, yeah, cottage cheese is awesome.
They decided to stop by Caitlin Moore's house on the way and talk to Ernie Barth, who hadn't seen Kurt in the 48 hours he'd been watching the house. So at 2 a.m., they stopped by Kurt and Courtney's Lake Washington home, and they called Courtney to get the alarm code after nobody answered the door. They thoroughly searched the house, opening drawers, closets, and rifling through bedding and cabinets. They looked for the gun, but they didn't find it, and all they did find under like the mattress was Courtney's Rohypnol prescription, which, you know, I want to remind everybody, he OD'd on Rohypnol in Rome. So weird thing is he's actually laying dead in the greenhouse at the garage at this point. Time of death is the night of April 5th or early morning of April 6th. But Grant is unaware that the greenhouse is there. It was storming heavily when they arrived at the structure, when they arrived and the structure couldn't be seen. So Dylan never mentions the greenhouse. So they leave after, you know, only finding the drugs. I say drugs, but like prescribed drug. Right. So Thursday, April 7th, Grant picks up Dylan again, and Mark Lanigan, singer of Screaming Trees, and the pair talk to Caitlin. He has them go in, and they buy drugs and use them. So he sent him in with the Dylan guy with a tape recorder. So 45 minutes later, he comes back, and she hasn't seen Grant, or hasn't seen Kurt. Can't talk. Barth, the subcontracted PI, decided to check out the lake house at this point. I don't know why I said lake house. The Lake Washington house. But Courtney finds out and freaks out, and they call him off. She doesn't want him to go there yet. They drop Lanigan off, but Dylan and Grant continue to look at some of Kurt's like known hangouts. So also on that day, the 7th, Courtney was arrested and hospitalized. Dylan told Grant, and it had something to do with drugs, but he didn't know much about it at this point.
She did that on purpose, right?
Yeah, she did.
Is that the one that she had like the press release about, or
this? No, it's actually another one.
Multiple attempts.
Get into it a little bit later, but then if she's arrested and hospitalized on the day when it seems like maybe she wanted someone to know where she was. It's kind of suspicious. At 8:30 p.m., Courtney is called by Dylan, and she asked them to return to the Lake Washington house. She's overheard by lawyer Rosemary Carroll asking Dylan to search the greenhouse, and she wants them to also look for the gun again. They walk in and find a note addressed to Kurt from the nanny, Manny, Callie, and it's pretty much just saying that he's pissed at Kurt for being in the house while he was there and not telling Courtney where he was. Once again, it's raining heavily, and Tom doesn't see the greenhouse, and Dylan forgets to look. So they didn't find anything else in the house. At this point, if she really was planning for them to find the body at this point, really messed up her plans. Friday, April 18th. 8th. I don't know why I said 18th. Thank you. While heading back to the cabin owned by the couple, the pair had searched, multiple times before. Dylan makes a call at a phone booth, and they don't know who he calls, but he tells Grant that a body was found at Kurt's house. And they turn on the radio and find out that Kurt is dead. This is the first time that Grant is actually told about the greenhouse, and they head to the home, and he tries to make contact with Detective Cameron of the Seattle Homicide Unit, but is unable to meet with him. Also, this really pissed me off. I don't know if you guys heard this, but his mom was there when they get to the scene, and she commented saying that he's joined the stupid club, talking about the 27
club. Oh, the 27 club? Yeah.
Yeah, which you think of all the things to say when your child was found dead, that wouldn't be one of them. I don't know.
Yeah.
People
process grief and things.
Well,
really
they do,
and she was a shitty person.
So, yeah, I was going to say
opinion.
There's like a lot of like anger that comes with that, though.
Yeah.
Like with suicides and with ODs, like being a death, like it sucks because it's like that's not the reaction that anybody wants to hear.
Right.
But at the same time, like I don't know, I've been really pissed when friends died.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So Grant stays in Seattle until Saturday, April 9th to interview more of Kurt's friends before heading back to LA. Everyone that he talked to said that Kurt wasn't suicidal, but that's not always known by friends.
Yeah,
you don't always tell them everything that's going on.
I think a lot of times with that kind of stuff, people, want to just like they think all the signs and everything are really, really obvious. Or like, oh, they made plans to go do this thing, so they would have wanted to stay alive for that. But I feel like a lot of times people just kind of keep doing their normal thing, and then, you know.
I agree with that.
It's not like you plan it out months in advance or anything.
Right.
Like
So he calls Detective Cameron and finds out that someone had repeatedly tried to use Kurt's canceled card, even up till the morning of April 8th when his body was found. So, I mean, obviously wasn't Kurt.
I wonder what they tried to get with it.
I know. They didn't have that information. They just had that it was denied several times. And then they also, this was the weird thing. The weird thing was a couple times it said that the card wasn't present, but I guess sometimes on machines around that time when it was denied, it would say card wasn't present. So it was just, a fluke. I don't really know.
it was like they try and it gets declined and they put the number in and then it says that.
Yes.
That was what I read.
So.
But that was like the card that she canceled and that's why it didn't work.
Yeah.
So they just had a record of somebody trying to use
Yeah.
it. So
Yes.
it wasn't going to.
So didn't actually, get to buy anything. His death was quickly ruled a suicide and wasn't further investigated. His body was quickly cremated within days of, his body being found. Weird story, but Courtney cut a lock of his hair and a lock of his pubic hair at the viewing, shortly before he
Didn't
was
she
cremated.
also stuff a teddy bear with his ashes?
I didn't come across that, but I wouldn't be
I think I've
surprised.
heard that before. Yeah.
That's horrible.
I get the lock of hair thing, but I can't I can't wrap my mind around the pubes.
That and is in front of people. She was like,
What kind of sorcery
yeah,
is
that's-
going with that? Like I can
right?
like
Wait, what? Well, how'd you get the pubes?
She
the
unzipped
viewing.
his pants and cut a lock.
At the
Yeah.
funeral thing?
Yeah, at the viewing.
It was like I don't know if they said it was a private viewing, so sometimes they would let families
I
see the
thought he
body
got
before other
cremated.
people did. There was still a viewing because surprisingly
Yeah, I guess I
there
didn't know
wasn't a
that.
ton of damage to his face.
Yeah,
there was some to his
that's a
mouth,
lot.
but
usually with
you could
gunshot
still
wounds to
recognize
the
him.
head. Like was he shot in the head?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like I had a friend that was shot in the head and they still had an open casket.
which is
crazy.
very
Yeah.
surprising. I guess it was a small.
It was bird shot or whatever.
Yeah, it was a small gun, and he bought a special one. So if he was shooting at a burglar, he shot a wall or missed something, it wouldn't go through the wall and possibly injure someone else.
I thought it was a shotgun.
It was a shotgun.
Oh.
Or
Sorry.
like the little pebbles, or the BBs that all shoot out at once.
Oh,
Shoot, like,
I thought you
birds
were
and
saying the
shit.
gun was small. I
No,
was
it was a
like,
big old shotgun.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, never mind.
So, two separate memorials were held, one at Courtney's and then another at Chris Novoselic's home with his wife, Shelley. And that was, because they weren't really getting along at that point.
They probably weren't invited to the other one.
Yeah. On Wednesday, April 13th, Tom meets with Rosemary Carroll. And she's very confused and distraught over Kurt's death. And she talks about how the couple, both wanted the divorce and it had become a very hateful relationship. She tells Grant that Kurt had an alternate will drafted, removing Courtney, and he wasn't able to sign due to his overdose in Rome. So, and then, afterwards he went to rehab shortly after, so she just hadn't got with him to sign the paper, but, she would have been removed to inherit. They had a prenuptial agreement, and that if they divorced, they would get their own stuff. They wouldn't, any of the stuff that they shared, they,
Right. Yeah.
Depending on whose
standard.
name it was in, yeah, they would keep that. So that was something I thought, maybe important to know.
That's extremely important. Mm-hmm. Well, this lady is like so central
Yeah.
to the whole thing because now she won't talk, and now they're putting out all this
know.
press about like they've like sent that Tom Grant guy a bunch of like cease and desist letters.
They did.
And saying that he's taking all these things out of context, but when you listen to him, it's like how,
Yeah,
the
you're
hell
like,
could this
no,
be
he
taken
didn't
out of
at all.
context?
I kind of loved like in the Kurt and Courtney documentary too, like with all the things that she tried to do to suppress the media.
I know.
But then also like how she was feeding it and
Yeah.
whatever. And like that guy gets up on the stage when she's like giving out the
Oh, that was
speech
awesome.
for like the award of like
Oh, at the end of
like,
AC, or not
the
the,
AC
the
the AC
ACLU.
yeah.
yeah, like so hilarious, so hilarious.
That guy's a badass.
That guy,
Yeah.
like, he, like, gave no fucks. He just goes on stage. He's
Nick
like,
Broomfield?
so,
Yeah, from
like,
BBC.
but you did this. So why are you giving the speech?
Yeah, and
for
he's like, she's
this?
threatening.
Like, is this the right
kill
type
journalists.
of person you
And
want
then,
to
like,
be
her,
doing
like,
this?
her dude, like, that she was, like, buds with, that is why she got to do that speech
Yeah.
or whatever, was like, get off my stage. And he's
Well,
like,
she's
when
like-
she was in her like glam Hollywood
She's like threatened.
phase.
She's threatened
Yeah.
to
Very
kill
phony.
journalists and stuff,
Yeah.
and then like years later, she's like, "Oh yeah, they were totally right. Like I just didn't want them to say that."
Yeah.
and she'd be like, "I was if they were lying, I would have sued them, but I didn't sue them because they weren't lying, and I would have lost. I'm
ridiculous.
just a psycho hose beast.
I love that they use that line in Wayne's World too.
He probably got it from that because it was after Wayne's World came out.
Yeah.
But it's just such a
Psycho
great.
Hose
I just love
Beast.
that it's like a thing that's in
I don't know the
quotes
origin of it.
about Courtney Love's Psycho Hose Beast. It's so funny.
So Rosemary was never shown a copy of the note, the suicide note that was found with Kurt's body, and she mentions that to Grant. And he was actually able to get a copy to show Rosemary by tricking Courtney. He pretended when she showed him a copy that he couldn't read it, so then he made a copy on her fax machine to read later, which I'm really surprised that she let him take.
I was gonna say somebody tricked Courtney.
That's why that's why this whole thing. That's why I believe that this conspiracy is true, because literally it's like, because people like try to debunk it now and be like, Courtney wasn't some big mastermind, like she was a junkie and all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, that's the whole point. That's like why all this stuff, like if she was a mastermind, nobody would be talking about this stuff.
She had done,
because she left all these things like hanging around.
Yeah,
had done other things
messy about things.
Yeah. So after Rosemary sees the copy of the note, she contacts Grant, and she's pretty upset, wants him to come back out, and she had some stuff of Courtney's that was left, items that were left at her house while Kurt was still missing. And if you remember, Rosemary heard her talking to his friend Dylan and says, search the greenhouse. So that's, this time. She went through the items in, the bag that Courtney had left, and she had found her to-do list writing, get arrested. So that was, when she got arrested on the 7th.
Dude, the shit is crazy.
Goals.
Yeah.
You know what I want to do this weekend?
She should have like
get arrested.
She should have like a mood board or something. With all the goals.
But then the
Hashtag squad goals. I'm sorry.
the vision board. So
Yeah,
She's
vision
got a-
board. Why did you
yeah.
say mood board?
I'm
doing
just thinking
that.
like a Pinterest board. Be like, there's a picture of the handcuffs.
Right. But
They could have found that at Courtney's her vision board about how she was going to murder her husband, and everybody would be like, he committed suicide.
Is this about a new song? No, guys.
Like, that's
it's just
nothing.
song lyrics.
Don't worry
It's
about that.
fine.
This is just a collage for the inner sleeve of an album. It's fine.
This is not my
Saw the
vision
one with
board
all the
about how I'm going to
fetuses,
kill my
it's like-
husband
This is
and get this money.
This is for a concept album
Exactly.
that I'm gonna have my boyfriends write for me.
This is like
Right.
if I
Such a
had.
so true, though. So another piece of evidence was found, very incriminating, and it was a letter that had traced groups of letters, and then it had someone practicing how to write these letters. It almost seemed like, possibly someone who had written on or, even written the whole suicide note had practiced beforehand. On
It's
this
like
piece
that
of paper.
Anastasia lady, like the one that was like,
Yeah.
like some like stupid like pen mark, and like it was copied throughout all the letters.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It seriously was like that though. It was
Yeah.
like all the letters, like 10
It
times.
was. It's really crazy when you
That's
see
the thing.
it.
That's what drives me crazy, is because I can see people saying like, "Oh, those people like they're really bending this, like they're really reaching here." But like,
Yeah.
we're supposed to assume that Rosemary Carroll actually found that in Courtney Love's like bag,
Right.
And it was Kurt's handwriting, somebody practicing letters like from his handwritten notes,
Yeah.
and then there's this like fishy suicide note at like. Come on.
So
get real.
This is it.
Right.
Like, is it this part that's written bigger? That's supposed to be the part that was.
A lot of the note. There's so many different theories about the note. That's actually
All right,
what I'm
yes,
going to get
yes.
into. But one other thing that's kind of important, she gives him an itemized bill from Courtney's stay at the Peninsula Hotel. Okay, I couldn't read my writing before, which shows proof that he had called Courtney less than an hour before leaving rehab. Carol believed that the suicide note was completely faked. She said that they had copied different writings of Kurt's, from journals and different things, and then added the beginning and the end, which, we'll get into in a minute. Grant had a different theory, and he believed that the note was a retirement letter addressed to Kurt's fans, and that just the beginning, who the letter was addressed to, and then the ending was written by another person. Because when you do look at the note, the writing is very different in parts, specifically at the end and the beginning. I will say, though, that when you're writing on paper that isn't lined, sometimes, you do tend to write strange, or, there's different size letters, but
Oh, yeah. No, my
that
handwriting's
it's
all over the
noticeably
place.
different on this. So his body was found, and his body was found, and then the morning after, Courtney had given an interview to Tabitha Soren over the phone, and then later interview to Kurt Loder, where she claimed that the note said, "It's not fun for me anymore, and I can't live life like this," which actually wasn't in the note at all. She also, during that interview, plugged her new album that came out the Tuesday after he was dead. The label rushed to have it come out.
Wow. Wow. That's so sensitive.
There was another thing I read. I can't remember what it's from, but it was like Courtney said she didn't make any phone calls or something on like these days, and they looked at her phone records and she had, but it was like 10 phone calls to the radio station to play the new whole single.
Which is crazy. Yeah.
Like on the day that she finds out that he's dead, she's like...
It was like around this time.
Yeah.
Oh
It was
my
in
God.
this week.
And she's just like, play my song.
A psycho,
Play my
dude.
song.
And then
This
Oh my
chick
God.
is a socio.
Yeah.
And the very last song on Live Through This, it was called Olympia, and it they ended up changing it to a different song at the after he died and everything, because I guess she mentions his name in the song.
Oh.
She's like, let's take that out and put something else in. So I thought that was kind of weird too. You would almost kind of think that she would want to keep it in there, just
You almost
Right.
think she would have known.
She also
This was all
told...
gonna happen because
Yeah.
you didn't.
yeah.
She also told Kurt Loder that his body was so severely damaged by the gunshot that he had to be identified by fingerprints, which wasn't true.
Yeah, if they're able to have an open casket, that's a bald-faced lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never knew that until just now. Like, I thought he was just like cremated really quick and that's it. I
Yeah.
didn't know there was any type of...
Like viewing.
Well,
Yeah.
he was cremated really quick, but this was
Right, yeah.
It was like 6 days afterwards.
Wasn't like the crime scene really compromised too?
Yes.
Like people were like tracking through all that. I'm
I feel
sorry.
like that
Yeah, no,
happens
you're
a
fine.
lot.
I don't know if anyone was supposed to see this. If this was just supposed to be something that the cops had, because if she was going to make a fake suicide note, or if he was going to write a real suicide note, none of this makes any sense.
Yeah.
The whole body is like,
I don't know if
he's
you guys...
literally just like, man, I don't want to play music anymore.
Yeah.
I was gonna
it
say,
really
I will
Like,
agree
this
that,
is-
that it does sound like a...
It's like,
It sounds
I
like
just
him
don't wanna
telling
keep-
his
I don't
fans
wanna
that
keep
he
playing
wasn't
music. I'm
going
gonna
to
do
be part of
something else.
Nirvana.
It's more like a
Yeah.
diary entry than a suicide
Yeah.
note.
It's
Yeah.
just like the last 4 lines at the end where, in different writing where it talks about, please keep going, Courtney, for Frances. Her life will be so much happier without me. I love you. I love you. And then it was addressed in different writing to his imaginary childhood friend, Bada.
Oh, yeah. I remember that from the documentary.
Yeah.
When his aunt is like playing the tape of him talking about Bada.
Yeah. There's also an interview that she gave, and it was there was like a vigil held for him. I don't know if you guys saw this, but
I've heard the recording from that before.
it's so shitty because she's calling him an asshole repeatedly, which I guess you would be upset, but you think that not really the right time to say such things about somebody that just died.
Does Courtney Love ever do anything at the right
Yeah,
time,
that's
though?
true.
Yeah, she's like always been kind of a wild card.
Yeah.
Like
She's
she punched
sure.
my hero in the face, and I'm still mad about it.
Who?
Yeah.
Kathleen Hanna.
Oh, yeah.
I think Kathleen Hanna had said something about her having like a heroin addicted baby or something, and so that's why
they
she
said that was
punched her.
fake. That
Yeah, no, Kathleen Hanna like talked about it in the documentary The Punk Singer. And she's like, yeah, I always like was like hoping, like I was friends with Kurt. I was hoping we could be like allies. Like we're both women in music. And she's
Yeah.
like, and then she just like assaulted me. So she pressed charges and shit.
she like stabbed
Yeah.
a girl when she was she was at this boarding school when she was younger, and it was just because she didn't like the way she looked. There's like a bunch of stories that I'll get to recently. Some are like actually hilarious.
Oh, there's some really, really batshit crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Which is,
where she like attacked people and did crazy things. Courtney was now telling everyone that the OD in Rome was actually a failed suicide attempt, and claimed that the note there was actually a suicide note and not him telling her that he was going to break up with her. But she never let anybody see this note. So this was contradicted by the doctors that had treated Kurt. They talked to him afterwards and said that it was an accidental overdose and they didn't think that he was suicidal. She claimed that he took 40 to 60 pills of Rohypnol, and the doctors that treated him said that that was not the case at all, that he, just had a few in his system. And the empty pill sheets were never found at the scene. So very strange also. Yeah. Police were called to their house, the greenhouse, on, at 8:56 on the morning of April 8th. And this was after a rush order was put in for this electrician to go out and put a security light in at the house. And this was after, I know this is so much information, but after Tom Grant and Dylan failed to find his body.
Right.
So, because they'd gone out there and they'd been advised to look at the house and they didn't. So then, she kind of needed someone else to go and look at the house. Or, maybe this was.
So then, like, so they didn't find the body. So then she's like,
Yeah,
oh, I need
I
a
don't know if
security
she
light.
wanted them to find the body, but because they were doing like the whole thing anyways, I think. But she was like, "Hey, go like check on the." I think that it was like specifically she was like tell the guy to go to the greenhouse and like hook the stuff up.
I think so too. Shitty thing, like the guy who discovered Kurt, he saw him through a window, and he called his manager and told them what happened. So the guy, before he calls the police, calls the fucking radio station and tells them like, "Oh, I got big news for you."
Really funny too.
And he tried to get was it Pink Floyd tickets out of them?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Wow. What
like
an
the
asshole.
owner, he called like the owner of the company, and he was like, "I got some news. You're gonna owe me some good Pink Floyd tickets for this one."
Whoa.
That's insane.
And then he called the cops.
Yeah.
What an asshole.
Yeah, total piece of shit.
I hope that guy got fired.
I hope so too, but he probably didn't.
Hope you enjoyed Pink Floyd.
Yeah, and he was like bragging about it on the news, which is weird.
That is.
Like he was like very proud of himself for doing that.
That's like the shittiest thing to like get your 5 seconds of fame for.
Right.
It's like, I found this guy dead, and like, oh, but look at me. Like,
That's
no.
some
Look at me, I'm
Courtney
front
shit.
row, Pink Floyd.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Okay, so firefighters on the scene broke a window to gain access to the greenhouse since the door was locked. When they got there, a Seattle PD officer on the scene removed Kurt's license from his wallet and placed it on top of the wallet. And that's important because the police said in their report that he had taken the license and put it out there so people would recognize him, since he shot himself in the face. But it wasn't true.
Tampered.
Yeah.
Tampered in the crime
Yeah,
scene.
and it didn't seem like, yeah, and before, they realized that he was dead pretty quickly, and, they touched the body when they shouldn't have. They should have waited for the coroner to get there. The victim, this is, directly from this book called Love and Death by Max Wallace and Ian Halperin. When, they...
Shoot my cottage cheese out of there.
It sounds like you're peeing.
Just pouring another painkiller. Nothing to worry about here. So did they determine that the door had been like locked from the inside, and then there was like a stool pushed up against it?
No, well,
that wasn't
the thing
true.
It wasn't true.
It was,
It was like a bathroom locked door, so you could just push it and close it.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then they said the thing about the door,
Okay.
the stool, but really that was the doors on the other side that went to like a little porch thing.
Okay. I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, so it didn't matter. It wasn't blocking anybody or anything.
Okay.
So they'd acted like he'd barricaded himself in the room.
Yeah, that's what I had always thought. Okay.
The victim was wearing jeans, black running shoes, and an unbuttoned long sleeve shirt. To the right of the body was Tom Moore cigar box containing syringes, cotton, a spoon, and other items of narcotics paraphernalia. On the floor, there was a hat, 2 towels, $100 or $120 in cash was in his wallet, a pack of cigarettes, a lighter, and a pair of sunglasses. To the left of the body lay a brown corduroy jacket and a beige shotgun case, on top of which was one spent shotgun shell, which, is important later on. A box of 22 unused shells was found inside a paper bag by his left foot, and inches from his head was a large drying puddle of blood. Opened can of Barks root beer which was 3/4 full, was found, and a paper placemat from IHOP with red writing with a pen stabbed through, and that was, the suicide note. And it was, written to his imaginary friend, but also to Courtney and Francis, explaining why he'd killed himself. Inside the pocket of his corduroy jacket was a receipt for the purchase of the Remington 20-gauge shotgun, and it was made out to Dylan Carlson and dated on March 30th, 1994, the day that he left Seattle for Los Angeles for rehab. It says, it mentions in this book, last thing I'll mention, that the crime scene wasn't secured and that, many people traipsed through, so they don't know, if there was anything else that was important that wasn't, noted. They did take photos, but the photos weren't fully developed. Took a long time for him to even develop any of them. And then, the Seattle PD didn't release the rest.
Yeah, they released more photos just a few years ago.
Yeah, they should have released everything at that point, but I guess Courtney and Francis, were, pretty big on having those not released, which you understand to an extent because it's obviously, photos of his dead body, but
Right.
It could be important.
Well, I think if they didn't have the kid, then this would be totally different. Because that's, I think, why Rosemary is like that now. And a lot of people don't want to say anything at this point and want to just dispel all this stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's fair enough to not put her through that.
Yeah.
Like now.
Right.
He also did have puncture wounds on the insides of each elbow. And there was, in his pockets, he had $63 in cash. Looks like a receipt from Lake City, his bank, and Seattle Guns.
To Lake City Bank.
There's an address book and the plane ticket. It's funny. There was like so much stuff to explain the crime scene,
in his
like
pockets.
included.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like that's like looking through somebody's purse, but like I'm impressed by how much he fit into his pockets.
Right, like all
Because
around
He wore a lot of. He wore a
Like,
lot
in
of
this pocket, there's a
layers,
shotgun
lot of-
receipt.
Yeah.
In this
like
pocket.
cargo. Was he wearing cargo pants? Like,
Right.
There's a lot. Was there a hidden fanny pack? I don't know.
I feel like he always wore like. 4
Oh,
pairs
Kurt
of
Cobain
pants.
wearing cargo pants just gives me nightmares.
No.
And a fanny pack.
Fanny pack, I can see. I think he'd.
I don't know.
I think he'd be down with fanny packs.
Yeah, I
don't
think
know.
I'd be okay with that.
I think
The
there are
visual
pictures of
image
him
is
with
like-
the fanny pack on.
I'm gonna have to look for that. That sounds funny.
No, it's like he didn't live long enough to see the horror of cargo shorts. Like,
Right.
Yeah, this is '94, guys.
yeah.
So pretty quickly,
Sorry, was that like inappropriate?
No, I don't. I don't think so. Like, because I'm over here giggling, like just thinking about Kurt Cobain wearing cargo shorts and
I
a
know, I was
fanny
thinking
pack.
it too.
Good times.
So pretty quickly they ruled it a suicide. It was even on like the initial paperwork. They never said, homicide or, undetermined. He had 1.52 milligrams per liter of heroin in his system. And, a big question was, could he have pulled the trigger with all that heroin in his body? There's so much debate on that. And, a lot of people, like different experts weighing in, yes, he couldn't have. no, he couldn't
doctors
have.
and somebody that's got a really high tolerance for
Yeah.
it.
That's what
anyway.
they
Like,
say,
I've never-
though. But, like, if we're supposed to take these documentaries, nobody got sued for these documentaries.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. So it's not the same as, like, the making a murderer thing being like, hey, they're presenting this evidence in a skewed way. It's like,
Right.
if they were straight up lying about this stuff, then Courtney Love would have sued their asses off.
Right.
But because in the Soaked in Bleach documentary, 1.52 is like if you had never done heroin before, 1.52
lethal dose.
is 70 times the lethal
Oh,
dose.
70 times. Okay.
It's 3 times the
For
lethal dose
him,
for
the
anyone that had
junkie.
ever died from heroin.
Yeah.
Like all these, that book is from like 1998 or something. So I don't know what studies have come out since then.
Right.
But there's like no cases of people even doing that much heroin when they died.
He weighed 115
Like people that
at the time too,
like
which is
junkies that
This is
overdosed
all
from
day.
heroin
Yeah.
did half of that much heroin and died.
yeah.
That's why it's fishy, because everybody took the
Right.
3 times thing. The 3 times thing is like 0.5 is like for a junkie, so it's
Okay.
3 times
Yeah.
that. It's not 3 times like somebody that's never
somebody
done
that
heroin.
uses it like every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's
And
3
You
times.
guys are convincing.
There was, the Kurt and Courtney documentary where they mentioned that there was a study done, and a man was like balancing on one foot after taking
Yeah,
heroin.
yeah.
But it was actually methadone that he was taking, which is quite different because it had to go through a system because he took it orally, and it wasn't shot directly into his bloodstream. So they said that it wouldn't have kicked in for about 45 minutes.
Why would you even why would you even do that, like, to compare?
I think this guy
They're
was
so
studying,
different.
like the doctor was like just studying.
it was the
heroin
90s,
addicts.
man.
Yeah.
They didn't have the internet yet.
Yeah, that's true.
These guys just all wanted to look like the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
Now all you have to do is Google.
So with the instant shot of heroin, they say like, could he have shot himself? Would he have been able to roll down his sleeve and then, which was done because the needle was taken out, his sleeve is rolled down, and then he supposedly shot himself. So they don't think that there would actually have been enough time for him to do that before like passing out from the drugs.
Who puts their drugs away when they're about to shoot themselves in the face?
Right. Yeah, there's so
Shotgun.
many strange things. And if you think about it, because they're comparing it to like when you get knocked out at the dentist or for surgery, you can barely count, to 5 in that
Yeah.
situation. I don't know if you
Right.
guys have ever had that. Like you
Yep.
literally like,
It's fucking awesome.
yeah.
Love watching the
For a
videos on
second,
YouTube.
it's like a
of that.
really good like
Yeah.
drunk feeling, and then
When I got my wisdom teeth out, I was like having
I
a
would
massive
get my
panic
wisdom
attack.
teeth taken out again if I could.
Yeah, I was like
that
having
was so much
not. I
fun.
got dry socket.
I was having a
The
massive
whole next day hanging out with my mom was like the funnest time I've ever had.
I
eat
just
some pudding, pop some Vicodin.
I just took like 2 giant bags of peas in a towel and like wrapped it around my head and sat back and watched Chronicles of Narnia and Lemony Snicket's.
That sounds like a great day.
It was other than like because I
It's
also
not great. It does kind of hurt.
yeah I didn't take any like the pain meds for some reason, so like everything did still hurt. It was just kind of.
I'm just talking about like wrapping a towel around your head and watching Chronicles of Narnia.
Right.
Like, here
with
for
like
it.
frozen
I'm
peas.
into it.
The peas were great though because they like form around your
Besides
face.
ripping the teeth out of your skull.
I just had like I had a
Sounds
massive
great.
panic attack like right before like when they gave me the what you call it?
I was scared too.
Yeah, they
I'm so nervous about getting my wisdom teeth out that I've literally put it off for 10 years.
no, it's awesome.
I
don't
waited
Are you supposed
too
to?
don't
long.
hesitate.
Oh yeah,
You need
they're
to?
like it's terrible. Yeah,
Mine were impacted because
Do
they
it,
waited
dude.
too long, and then like they
can't
just
make
like
us-
dig them out, which is awful. But yeah, I
I don't
got
like
dry
getting put
sockets
under.
too, which really sucked.
Oh yeah, I did have that, but yeah, they told me to count
so bad.
backwards from 100, and I was having this massive panic attack. I was like, "What if I don't wake up?" And it was like 99. Like,
Yeah.
I
You
was
can
out.
do it. I think you can do it without getting put under.
Yeah, you can.
Because that was like an option when I was there.
Oh, mine's gonna have to be like a
I was
surgery.
like, it was sort of like a last minute decision. I was like, I think I want to get put under.
They didn't ask me, but I did. Mine were impacted, like I said. So maybe that's why.
no, that's yeah. Mine are
was
mine are
so-
like completely grown in, but like sideways.
It was weird though because then
shits
I
out of
like
there.
woke up
I know, I need
walking
to.
down the hallway with like blood like all over my shirt, but I didn't remember like waking
Metal.
up or like that. It's funny too. They like get you
Hardcore,
up and
dude.
make
That
you.
sounds so metal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My sister made me go into the grocery store with her. She drove me home, and she's like, "Okay, let's get some ice cream." Blah blah. She's like, "Oh no, you got to come in." And I had like the towel and the ice packs on my face, and I
Oh
had
my
like
God.
I was like dripping.
It's like
Is that like something you were supposed to do?
No, that's like an episode of like Broad
Ice
City.
packs around your face. Yeah.
No, they at the
They did it at the
dentist,
doctor's?
They gave
I don't
me
think
like
they did
a
that.
like
Mine
a
must not have been that
strappy
bad.
like a headband.
I mean,
yeah.
I wouldn't remember if they did do that to me, I guess.
Anyway, back to the story. Valium.
Anyways.
Valium was found in his system as well, and they don't. There's been a lot of debate. Like, did he actually take that himself, or
How
if
much was there?
I don't have.
I
That.
don't think the Valium was consequential.
Yeah, no. People
Well-
just casually pop a Valium for whatever reason. It's
Yeah.
It's fine.
There was the only thing I ever heard about that made any sense was that there was like that open pop can there and shit that they could have tested for drugs.
If they would have tested, would they have found the
But they
volume in there? Because then, it kind of fits the theory. He was drugged, and then like while he was passed out, they shot him up and then killed him. But we don't know. There were no fingerprints on the gun, or other than where his hand was locked, because it's called a cardiac spasm, where his hand was wrapped around and like stuck on there. But there wasn't any fingerprints anywhere else, which is weird for a shotgun because there's a lot of space, where fingerprints
So it
could
definitely
show up.
could have been wiped.
Right. They think it was. And then also the pen didn't have any fingerprints on it, which is strange.
I don't know if that was so much that they didn't find any or if they didn't
They
even
didn't
check
find
it.
any.
Test
They
it,
did.
yeah.
They did actually check, and they weren't found.
It was
So-
irresponsible either way, but yeah.
Yeah, very irresponsible. So surprisingly, Courtney still stays in contact with what's his name, Tom Grant. After this, she hires him for odd jobs, and he continues his investigation privately. She mentions 2 weeks after his death that she's already sleeping with Billy Corgan again, and she says that she wants to cooperate with him even after he informs her that he's suspicious of Kurt's death and her involvement. She produces a third note claiming that she found it under the pillows at the house, which was thoroughly searched by Tom and Dylan, Kurt's friend, saying that it was under the pillows in one of the bedrooms, which he, claims there's no way because he searched and, he would have found that. And he tells her that, he would be satisfied believing that she had no involvement if she would let him interview Callie and then also see a copy of the autopsy, which she claims that she's going to do it as she was out of town, and she claims that she's
This is
gonna-
like years later, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Was that note that she says that she found, is that because around the time that they released the new photos from the crime scene, they also released like a note that he had written her? Is that the same one?
This was like 1998 or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know like she had said that there was one, but like it was actually like you can actually read it now.
What's weird about this note, she claims that she gave it to the police and that they told her to destroy the letter because it had like damning information in it that would confuse people. So she burns it. So she can't show him a copy of that.
And then people are still just confused anyway, so.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, no time ever do the cops be like, you know what you should do? You should take this piece of evidence and set it on fire. Like,
But
no.
if they, didn't want to admit that they had like completely screwed up the investigation, maybe they would.
Like, was it her friend, the cop?
Didn't say.
No, but if this stuff did happen, and because this guy got like in trouble for something else that Cameron
Yeah,
got,
he
in like 2000 or something.
he
I
had
can't remember.
there was evidence stolen from a crime scene that he told them to like.
Well, another
plant
cop
back.
said that he was
Yeah.
like trying to. It was a whole that they were all stealing money together, so he had to resign because of that.
Wow.
But like basically, if you do a high profile thing like this and you're just like a normal police department in a city, like you're fucked.
Yeah.
If something like this comes out and you're like, and it just everything is just you did a terrible job the whole time.
Well,
So
it's like everything about it is that they did
they're
a
gonna
terrible
go to the ends of the earth to
Also-
convince people that they didn't, and that there's some reason
Yeah.
that they were just right the whole time. I don't know.
Another huge problem, the coroner, which was a deputy coroner that, confirmed that it was a suicide. He was actually a friend of Courtney's and a fan of her ex-boyfriend, the musician Julian Cope, that knew the couple pretty well before, and, conflict of interest there, but he still completed the autopsy. Yeah. So the detective Terry that we talked about earlier, that knew her, that took the police report when she was pretending to be Kurt's mom, he was murdered by two men, much later. And it said at the time that he was investigating the source of the heroin found in Kurt's system at the time. And, this is when we can bring up El Duce.
El Duce.
El
The
Duce.
oldest 35-year-old ever.
Dude, that guy is fucking cool.
He looks wrecked.
His real name is Eldon Hoke from the band The Mentors, yeah.
That was one of the biggest things that convinced me, is that guy is obviously crazy. But he's absolutely, just from watching him talk for a few minutes, he's absolutely not the kind of person that would just lie for
Right.
attention.
And he wasn't getting money for,
Yeah.
telling a story, but he claims that he was offered $50,000 by Courtney to kill Kurt by shooting him in the head and then making it look like a suicide. And he actually took a lie detector test, which we know aren't, completely reliable, but he passed.
That's
Which
crazy.
is strange.
Yeah, and in that documentary, when they go to like his backyard or whatever, and they're talking to him, doesn't he say he just makes like a really, really vague statement about like, I was offered a lot of money.
They cut
to
out
do
in that documentary.
something."
That Nick Broomfield guy is
Yeah.
so like meticulous that they cut out the stuff that could get them in legal trouble.
Yeah.
So he says way more than they put in that, and
He
they
actually
put
names the
put in the documentary that Courtney offered to pay him $50,000. So like
Yeah.
the stuff that they're cutting out is like fucking
Right. He just says something like, "Yeah, I was
like this
of
was
all
like,
the things they needed to
offered to
take
do
out.
something.
It wasn't that she offered him $50,000 to kill her husband.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we can't use this song here, so we have to use one of Dylan Carlson's songs instead." Like
Right.
they explain all that stuff, but like, everything else, yeah.
Like, due to libel laws, we can only let this guy say that Courtney Love offered him $50,000 to kill.
But we did have to cut this Nirvana song for legal reasons because Courtney owns all of this.
Yeah,
Like,
and then he's like, yeah, this interview actually lasted a really long time, and this is like the only part that
But
we
no,
didn't
that guy
have
is
to
like,
cut out.
I think everybody kind of knows people kind of like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're not interested in they're not the weird sociopath kind of people that want to say things
Just always need
for
to be
attention.
out and-
He doesn't want the
Yeah.
attention. Those guys, people found him. He wasn't like
He's not. Yeah, he's not the electrician.
right.
yeah.
Or
Yeah.
this stupid guy that we're
And
going to
he's
talk about in a few
crazy,
minutes.
and he'll say crazy stuff, but he's not gonna make
Right.
that up.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And his name's El Duce.
And his band is
Yeah.
really awful.
It was funny
fucking
too in the
awesome.
description. They called, for the band, they called it porn metal, which I thought was really funny.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
the shit that they show in that documentary.
Yeah.
these people are so crazy.
I also heard that he referred to
These
it
music
as
scenes back in the day.
rape rock.
Yeah.
And I'm
Still.
like, that's
Even still, there's a lot of some of the niche metal things. There's some pretty ratchet
all really
shit in there,
questionable.
but Some of it's, I mean, like, I think I have like this terrible sense of humor where I find that shit hilarious, and like as a woman I shouldn't. But
Yeah, no.
I
Well,
can't
Have
help
you
it.
ever watched?
I
Have
was
you ever
just-
watched Gigi Allen's like Maury,
God.
not Maury, but his like Sally Jesse Raphael interviews and shit from before he died?
I
Yeah,
didn't know that those
It's like
existed.
that.
yeah. No,
He's
totally.
like that,
It's
this
like
guy
that.
is like a Gigi Allen type of guy.
Totally.
And he says these horrible, disgusting things, but it actually gets these like uptight, rich white people to like talk about stuff,
Right.
and it's like kind of cool.
But it's
even as
also,
terrible as everything that he says.
he's
is.
also just like trying to be so contrary. Like he's
Yeah.
just trying to
Yeah.
push the envelope all the time. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
no,
what
they
this
played like a
LG
clip of the like one of the mentors videos, and I'm just like, okay, try harder. Like,
Right.
Your band sucks.
I played with the band like that once, and then there was like a belly dancer the whole time.
Huh.
It's really weird.
That is
Like
weird.
similar subject matter, but
Yeah.
but
I'm like,
and
okay, you
like
wanna be
not
super-
not something that would normally have like a belly dancer.
Yeah.
Like it was not this band, obviously, but
Yeah.
it's just a very like there's some weird shit out there, guys.
yeah,
There,
no, I mean, and
explore.
I'm just like, okay, like I get what you're trying to do, like shock value, blah blah blah, but can
Yeah.
you also just like not suck in every other way?
Right.
Watch Gigi Allen on Jerry Springer in 1993.
Oh, that's a
It was
classic.
yeah,
I haven't seen any of this.
He was on like all the daytime
Or was
talk
it?
shows.
Wait, no. Was it like 10 years later? When did Gigi Allen die?
That's crazy.
Gigi Allen died like in the was it like the late 80s, early 90s?
It was at least 19. Like
Yeah, it was sometime
Early
in the
90s.
90s. I don't.
Yeah.
those are amazing though. He went on like a tour of all those talk shows like 6 months before he died, and they're all great.
I do remember. This is the guy with the mustache, Geraldo.
Yeah, he was on Geraldo.
Well, have you ever seen the one where it's like he's where Geraldo is interviewing all of the like white power guys, and then there's this huge fight on stage. People are like throwing chairs,
Yeah.
and Geraldo gets like his jaw broken. And
Geraldo
it's
used to be
insane.
like Jerry Springer and Maury, and then he like
Yeah.
grew out of it. Unlike Maury, who used to be like legitimate. And then
And
Right.
then, and now it's
Now
just
he's
like
just a
paternity test. I love the victory dances when they're like, "You are not the father." And they're like, "Oh,
I know. I'm like,
shit."
how terrible. Like, I hope
Maury,
still watch
that
this.
shit is amazing. What point you think he just imagine like the instance that Maury just decided that was like his career now?
Just like, no, I'm not going to find
Spent
it
his whole
longer.
life
It's
trying to
like-
be like a legitimate talk show host.
he's like,
journalist,
"No,
and he's
I
just
know,
like,
fuck
he's
it.
like, fine, this is what I do now.
Fuck it. This had my highest ratings. I'm just gonna go with it.
I always like the episodes like when he's not doing the paternity tests where he does like the bad girls episodes.
Oh.
Like the 12-year-olds that are always like, I've had sex 214 times. I'm like, who's counting that? Like,
Do you remember when they'd have
and they send
like,
him to like a boot camp.
I like the ones where they have the people that are afraid of. There's an episode.
Dear diary, I got railed again today. Like what? Like sorry, I'm just thinking about being
This is
12.
number
Like,
183. I'm 12.
Yeah, I'm
also
just like, that seems like
finding-
a weird way to keep track of things.
Nobody's ever.
Yeah.
Has anybody seen the episode of Maury where he has the people that are scared of like unusual things, and there's a girl that's afraid of pickles, and so he has like a bunch of people on his staff bring out like trays of pickles, and she just flips out and like runs backstage and shit. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
And it's like there's like a lady that's like afraid of all dogs, and like so they bring out like the tiniest like teacup chihuahua, and she's like screaming. Okay, sorry. Well, back to El Duce.
No, I just want to talk about Riel or
Maury.
daytime talk shows some more.
well, shortly after he contributed to the Kurt and Courtney documentary, he died.
2 days.
He
2 days after.
Was it really?
he was hit by a train, and a strange thing he mentioned in part of the the stuff that they cut out, he mentioned a man, the Allen Wrench guy, which is actually Richard Allen Wrench, so Dick Wrench.
Great name.
Wait,
Dick Allen Wrench.
Yeah.
Real name?
I don't know.
I hope so.
I just need to know because man,
What's this assassin's real name?
Yeah, supposedly.
but like
But
Alan
this guy's
Wrench,
such
like
bullshit.
come on, like Dick Allen Wrench, like that's
Right.
What's that guy's job? Let's make it up.
He's in a band.
No, I don't want to know
What's
about him.
our version?
Like, I don't want to know about his real life. Like, I just need to like have it like my mental image. I need to make it.
I mean,
Let's
is
build
porn
it.
star too obvious?
Oh, I didn't even think of that. That's actually really great. Like maybe he's like the guy that like
Are
maybe, like,
Allen
the
wrenches the
fluffer?
ones that are like the L's?
Yeah, like the stunt
Yeah.
cock or whatever.
Oh, he's
Yeah.
a stunt cock. There we
Okay,
go.
all right.
That's it.
Okay.
Stunt cock. I think orgasm.
That's a great movie. Yeah, that's what it is.
So this guy was interviewed, and he claims that he's
Alan Wrench.
Yeah, he says that
legendary
he's not
Alan
going to admit to the murder because he doesn't want to incriminate himself. But then he also goes on this tangent where he says, like, if he would have killed El Duce, this is how he would have done it, which is, like, really similar to the way he died. And said, like, he would have taken him to this remote part of, because there was, like, a couple businesses around the train tracks, and he would have taken him there and then, pushed him in front of the train. So, don't know if this guy really had any involvement. He seemed like he really wanted people to believe that he did. But the weird thing was that soon after, he was seen driving a Lexus, which was actually the model that Courtney, I keep calling her Courtney.
Courtney.
Fish dish.
Courtney Colove.
That she wanted, Kurt to buy, and he ended up returning. He also had all this expensive recording equipment, $100,000 new, or $25,000 if he would have bought it all used. And his band wasn't making money at the time, so they thought that was.
What band was he in?
I don't remember.
They
They
don't
weren't
matter.
making any money.
Yeah.
You don't know.
So
It was the only band in Seattle at this time that wasn't rich and famous.
I don't actually
Totally.
think that this guy did it, but because he wanted, so badly for everybody to believe that he did, which made it seem fake. But I mean, maybe that was like his brilliant plan. Like, oh, I'm gonna
Maybe that's
make it
how he
seem
wanted
like
to
I
get
want-
fame. Maybe he just really wanted in on that Seattle fame.
Yeah. There's a bunch of information about Courtney's like past violent episodes. There,
Also, her dad in that movie
Oh, yeah.
is straight up just like,
He's brutal.
he like definitely believes
dude.
she did it.
yeah.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
has
And
like
in
a
this
bunch of
book,
really good
in that
evidence.
book, Kurt's grandpa is like, he was definitely murdered.
Which is sad.
for sure.
I felt so bad for his grandparents because they really did actually love him, and they did, at
Yeah,
some point, like,
and that's why
actually
I
take
don't
care
give a
of him.
shit about like what Courtney says or what
Yeah.
his mom says, because
His mom's
like
a piece of shit.
his mom, he didn't
Yeah.
talk to his mom since he was like 16.
Yeah, he
He,
had to
like,
go live
abandoned
with
him.
He had
Yeah.
to go live with
Yeah.
the
Both of his
principal of
parents
his
did.
school.
But
Was that it? Was it the principal
He
or
did
his
for
teacher?
like a year.
Well, they said it was
and
the
his sons.
headmaster.
He was actually
okay.
doing like pretty well around that time, but he like lived under a bridge for a while, and his
Yeah.
parents like passed him back and forth because neither one of them wanted him.
Yeah, which is like terrible.
Yeah,
I liked
awful.
I liked that they had the interview with that guy though, where he's just like talking about. He's like, yeah, he's like friends with my sons, and they're like, hey,
Yeah.
he needs a place to stay, and
He'd, like, do
thought it'd be
chores
like a
around the
one night
house.
thing, and it ended up being like
Yeah.
forever. And he knew the rules too. It's like if you're ever gonna crash on a couch, like you do the dishes.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
He's
like,
like, oh,
and-
we put him in the chore rotation.
And he was like going to
Yeah, no, I
church
love
with
that.
them and doing a little
Yeah.
bit better, but he was like sneaking out and doing drugs, and that's actually what got him kicked out because he broke
Yeah.
a window. But yeah, funny story. It says November of 1994, Courtney was spotted wearing a floor-length slip, running barefoot after a woman on LA's Sunset Boulevard and yelling, "I'm going to kill you," which ended up being indie singer Mary Lou Lord, and who was one of Kurt's exes. And
Oh yeah, she's in one of those movies.
Yeah, and then she just like had something resurface, like her and Courtney got into like or she made like this giant Facebook post or something about
Right.
Courtney, and it kind of sounded like somebody maybe just wants attention. I don't know. It
Maybe.
was kind of a weird.
Yeah, they even said
somebody
that
wants to
she
be
was like
relevant
creepy and they
again.
didn't really have a relationship, but she seemed pretty threatened
yeah. It
by
sounded like she was kind of a little bit stalkerish.
Yeah, she attacked a flight attendant on a flight to New Zealand, and she was like screaming, "I'm allowed to do whatever the fuck I want. You know who I am."
Courtney
And-
did this?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Power tripping. Yeah.
And then a few months later, in 1995, on the Lollapalooza tour, she attacked Kathleen Hanna from Bikini Kills, punched
And
her in
like,
the face.
didn't like one of the girls from Bikini Kill dated Kurt?
Yeah,
at some
Toby
point?
Vale, the
Something like
drummer. Because that's where they got the smells like Teen Spirit thing from, because she would wear Teen Spirit deodorant. So Kathleen Hanna was like, Kurt smells like Teen Spirit.
And spray painted it
Yeah.
on a building, and she said that she was so drunk that night that she didn't drink for like years after that.
Yeah.
And then like that's where the song title came from.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like later Courtney Love like punches her in the face, and she's like, okay.
Dude, Courtney Love is so crazy.
She's
Hey, you might not have been able to buy your Lexus if it weren't for my streak of
You were in a
brilliance.
band with my man's ex.
I'm drinking the rest of those.
So pretty soon
the
she,
Kurds.
I'm drinking the Kurt.
pretty soon Courtney, like anyone that wanted to write a story about her, Kurt, they were delivered a 12-page document, kind of like a gag order saying like what they weren't allowed to ask her and what they were. She freaked out on a reporter. that asked her about drug use in the past while she was, promoting The People versus Larry Flint. And this was even talked about by Dave Grohl in a Foo Fighters song where he says, "How could it be I'm the only one who sees your rehearsed insanity? I've been all around the ponds you've gagged and bound." And he's talking about, Courtney pretty much controlling the press.
There's I can't remember if it was after me and you talked about doing this, but there's a video about like songs by people in the 90s that knew Courtney Love. Like these songs are about Courtney Love.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation on like that Starfuckers Incorporated.
There's
yeah.
who does that?
Trent Reznor.
Yeah, that one is
Okay,
for
and they
sure.
did have a relationship.
Yeah. And then like
But there's like 24 songs. And it's not like this could be about Courtney Love. It's like there's interviews with Courtney Love where she's like, yeah, that song's about me.
like, why would
Yeah.
you want like this is making me sound like a terrible person. I want everyone to know that this guy thinks I'm a terrible person. It's like, no.
It's like she just thinks that if she says that kind of stuff, then people will think it's like two crazy people that just
Yeah.
don't like each other. But really, it's very obvious that everyone hates Courtney Love and she hates everyone else, and that's it.
I remember like watching like this like rant that she had like going on social media, and it was about like how nobody was going to dress her for like
Oh,
some
yeah.
award show, and she's like, but that she wasn't up for an award. Like,
Yeah.
there was like no reason for her to be there.
Yeah.
She just wanted to go, and so she had tickets to go, and she's like, no designer is gonna like, I cannot believe this.
She has
And
so
she
much
was
money,
like
too.
ranting
Just
about
buy
it for
something.
like ever. Like, what?
One of her musician boyfriends to, I don't remember who it was, but they told the story about how she said that a crazed fan had like broken into her, it was like her dressing room or something at the time, and put like a bunch of used tampons and stuff in the room. And
That's a great prank.
but what's crazy is like she admitted that she actually did it later.
She does that for like every
Yeah.
thing that.
Oh
And
my
one
God,
of her
that's
ex-boyfriends,
amazing.
the guy in Liverpool, he actually took out like a one-page ad in the newspaper talking about like how horrible she was, and called her like a Nancy Spungen wannabe, and like talked about how they were glad to be rid of her. So
Oh, I bet that made her so mad.
right,
That's funny.
Yeah, because when they were showing like old pictures of her and stuff in that documentary I watched last night, I was like, this is Nancy all the way.
oh right,
And then they interviewed that girl that claimed to know them, and that claimed to know Kurt and Courtney, and they went to her apartment. She was going to get them some photographs that she had,
Oh, that-
and
yeah.
she was like a complete Courtney clone, like her voice and
was.
everything. Yeah, I was like, this is kind of uncomfortable.
and there was like the interview
that was
with like
funny.
the like super high nanny and her friend, and like she
Yep.
could barely talk.
Oh, that lady that was just
She was
chilling in
like-
the basement. It was kind of
Courtney kept obsessing about the will, and
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
really wouldn't take anything that she said in
Yeah, that
consideration
was-
'cause she
that was
fucked
weird.
up.
So let's go around. Do you
Yeah.
think she did it,
100%.
Lindsay?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh my God.
Oh my god.
Dan, what do you think?
Of course she fucking did
It's
it.
like a master plan. She definitely
I think she did it. Okay, and then question number 2. Is Courtney Love a reptilian?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that one. That one you're all for.
The crazy thing is,
But do you think she was a reptilian?
I don't. 'Cause
No?
She's like too fucked up. And
I don't
crazy.
believe in reptilians.
It's just we have to ask. Like we just
Yeah.
did an episode on.
Okay, so does nobody else
reptilian
think
overlords, sneaky shapeshifters? I don't think she's a shapeshifter, but I think that she might be affiliated with some.
She might.
Maybe she's Billy
she's mind
Corgan.
So wait,
Shapeshifter.
this is the presumption here is that you guys all
I didn't think
believe
about
in reptilians.
No, it's just a question.
It's
that
just
I
a
wanna
matter of whether or not Courtney Love is one of the for sure the
ask. Well,
reptilian
because
people that
apparently,
exist.
like every fucking celebrity has the potential to be a reptilian overlord.
Well, yeah.
Did you hear what Lindsay said? She said maybe he was, or she was Billy Corgan's shapeshifter.
Oh,
Like, his ex-
shit.
See,
Oh,
it's all coming
shit.
back around now,
shit.
isn't it?
Oh shit. Oh man. All right. So
She did it.
yeah. So
And reptilians aren't a real thing, guys.
that's
This isn't that kind of conspiracy theory.
it's like your opinion, man.
That's like
Okay, so I think that's it. Thanks for sitting with us for this long podcast. Hopefully you were as entertained as we have all been. And we're going to end today's podcast with one of the songs by one of Dan's bands.
I didn't pick it yet, so
Okay.
it'll be a surprise.
All right. Peace.
Bye.
Lee.
it's a mess, why don't you tell me something different? You just want my support, why don't you tell me something useful? It's gotta be about me, why don't you tell me when I reach the bottom? Won't you tell me please? Do you think it's a mess? Why don't you tell me something different? You just want my support, why don't you tell me something useful? It's gotta be about me, why don't you tell me when I reach the bottom? Won't you tell me please? I know I gained a little weight, I don't think it's the stress, but I surely digress when it all fell apart and I thought that I knew what was right. Don't you worry, it's my phone again. I can see it from the corner of my eye. Louis Phil is collecting. And I used to think it was a shame that no one would ever remember my name. And I used to try to hide, and now I can't be found. And I know it's hard this time of year. Do you think that I'm struggling? You'll accomplish more. And I'm not always right, but you know I try. And I swear I'll get a job this time next year. Just remember I said that when you're sitting on the couch and the furnace goes out in January. I didn't make any money, but I wrote another song about